Welcome everyone to Zero to Freedom, and with me, your host, JC, and we're in association with Tribe to Thrive, the Expression Project, and of course, the Adventures in Humanness podcast. So I hope you're all doing really well today, and I'm excited because I have a very special lady with me called Emma Davies, and she's developed, this channel, I'm all about exploring health, a journey to wellness and wholeness by any means, spiritual health, all of our health, because there's no separation. And I came across Emma, and she's doing some really important work, trauma to soul purpose. It's her own method that she's developed. I've had a session with her. We've had extensive chats. We've actually become friends, but I understand how she's moving in the world. The work she's doing is so important. And even the work we did the other day has had a massive impact on my health and my healing. So, Emma, I just want you to come on and just explain a bit about what you do and really the importance of what you're doing right now in the world. And, without ego or anything, just because we're a highly traumatized species. And I just feel that your work is so important because we really don't understand our role here as humans and what we are, like our physicality and our other selves. So, how can we navigate as, how you see us, how we really are, and how we can move through to wholeness and wellness, as an embodied human here now.
Hi.
Hello, darling.
Hello. Well, wow, what an honour it is to be here. Absolutely. And it's so nice to hear that that the work we've done has had an impact on you. That's it really means so much to me because it's my sole purpose to do this work and to have it actually making an impact and making a difference for people. That's what it's all about for me. And it's taken some inner journeys of my own, lots of shadow work and delving really deep within my subconscious to be here where I am now today, having co-created a therapy.
Can you explain shadow work for people who don't understand? Because obviously I talk to have lots of people on from different modalities, but I haven't spoken to anyone who's in your field yet. So for people who don't understand what shadow or shadow work is, can you explain what that is?
Yeah, sure. The shadows are aspects of ourselves that are low in density, quite simply put. There's lots of different explanations out there, but for me, the shadow is a part of self that has been created through trauma, through our conditionings,
so it's our trauma story in a way. Everything that's happened to us in our life, everything we've carried with us is in fact like our shadow.
Yeah, it's a shadow that's created, and this shadow usually is created out of self-protection. Our minds are so undiscovered still, that the aspect of the shadow is the darker areas of our being, and to work with the shadow is all about bringing the shadow to light, allowing that shadow to have its say, why it was created, why it exists, and to help transmute that shadow into unconditional love, so that the density is no longer there within us. So our shadows are really important to get into the depths of our healing. Without the shadow, we wouldn't have the signposts, we wouldn't have the knowing to have to, the knowing of, I need to do something about that. That shadow wakes us up and says, I'm here, you need to deal with me so that we can ascend, so that we can
move like forward. you need to deal with me in the way, like all these little stories, all these things that we pick up, it insists that we look at it so we can move on and evolve that and bring that to light. so we can actually see it and not run from it, and see the uncomfortable things that we need to.
Yeah, because all the healing's done in the uncomfortable times, in the uncomfortable moments.
Yeah, and I'll testament to that, you know, I'll give testimony to that, and so many people can. So you see, my journey with health has really taken a full turn. So we view our bodies as just being physical. Something goes wrong, we fix it, we get an outside person to fix it. But my understanding has 360'd since I fell through the cracks of the medical system. We don't need to get into all that out, but suffice to say, I was faced with not having that outside help. So I was in a very bad state, having fits and heart attack, all these different things going on. And it is the best gift that's ever happened to me, because I had to really turn on its head what it was to kind of be human and understand, like, my body, and what that it really was up to me whether I got well or not. Essentially, I had to go back deep into all the things you're talking about, and we're so traumatized and we don't realize. And this is a question I want to ask you, Emma, as people, as humans here on the earth right now, we are so deeply traumatized by so many different things, and we're operating just from our 0.0001% understanding of what we are, which is flesh and bone and just physical beings. And what the best work and the most healing I've done is since I've come off that path of understanding, and just purely looking at the physical, because we are so much more than that. And to find people like you that are working in this way, it's essential medicine to me. And I'm absolutely, completely serious when I say this to anyone who's watching this. This is the essential medicine. Everything else is just covering up symptoms and things that we need to get to the root of the manifestations, because you probably agree with this. Every illness and everything we have is unexpressed trauma, you know, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's my job to guide people back to those traumatic moments so that they can essentially heal themselves, you know, because once you're in there, I mean, a lot of the time it's so hidden and so deep that it goes without awareness.
Yeah.
And you know, trauma can come in all sorts of shapes and sizes.
Yeah, because when we talk about trauma, people think you had to have something like be abused as a child or that. No, not at all. It's everything, isn't it?
Everything, yeah. I mean, you can get trauma because your parents split up, and you know, when parents split up as a child, when you're a child, yeah, it's not intentional. It's not wanting to harm anyone, but the process, if not dealt with properly at the time, can leave a child with a trauma. A car accident can leave somebody with trauma. War zones, trauma. There's really big things that leave us with trauma that are obvious, but there are so many things that are smaller that people think that they can't have trauma because it wasn't big enough, because society wants you to believe that you're only traumatized if something really bad has happened to you.
Not that your everyday life is one long trauma.
Everyday life is traumatic. If you grew up with an illness yourself, if you grew up with parents with illnesses, you know, a loss of a loved one during childhood, and a lot of these traumas that are smaller that happen in childhood are actually huge, because the child's awareness of the situation isn't enough to have an understanding around the trauma. And quite often parents,
so they can't decipher it, so it gets stored without being kind of any awareness to it, basically,
because parents don't always as well have the awareness. In the past, you can look back, and a lot of parents who have got their own generational trauma cannot help the child in a traumatic situation because they don't know what to do, and they just allow the child to almost go without being thought of in that moment, and forgotten. Because you're a child, then adults think that you're not aware of a situation, and you are aware of every situation. It's just depending on your level of awareness.
And you can't kind of stand back and process that. You see it from a very different point of view. And when you talk about generational trauma, you know, without even realizing it, we are, you know, ancestrally, generationally, we are just passing down these kind of imprints and conditions and our own trauma through our line to our children without literally even realize we're doing it. Like, even to the point of putting limitations, like, no, you can't do that, what society says, like, just things that happen in everyday life. I mean, I would say, literally looking around at what's happening, everything at the moment, and even just going back historically, it feels as if all the systems that we have in place right now only seeks to limit, like, our capacity as humans, because we're not coming from a place of how can we step into our full power, Emma, when we do not know really who we are. So we're told when we're born, you're born, you kind of go to school, you get a job, you do this, you do what is expected of you. But who are we? We are operating in a tiny capacity. Now, what do we need to do with your work? What do we need to do with your trauma to soul purpose to really step in and understand? Because it feels like this conditioning starts as soon as we're born. And so we don't know who we are. And when you start feeling that reconnection to who you actually are and really opening up to stepping into that actual choice and power that you have, then the world looks very different, doesn't it? And there's a lot of people right now stepping into that, and that's why I really wanted to have you on, because we're so deeply traumatized and there's so much work to do. So I believe you're going to be a very busy lady, very, very busy lady. We've talked about some projects to start, but how do we, as humans, just start coming to someone who's never been spiritual, Emma, someone who's never, looked at anything differently from the pure physical material? How do we start getting back to this more simpler and more connected times? And it's essential that we do. I really feel that's massively essential.
I mean, if you think about it, when we're born, we're named. That's taken away our authenticity straight away, because we're given a name by somebody else. And whilst it's not a huge deal, it is actually the first step to conditioning and the first step of someone else telling us who we are going to be. That's where the message is. I don't, I'm going through a process at the moment of, I will be changing my name soon.
Really, that's really interesting. Why? Because I've thought about that recently. So that's interesting you said that. So, okay, explain to me why you feel.
Well, I've just been feeling that I have a different name, and it's an ancient name. And did
it feel like it was calling? You just felt like that was right for you, yeah?
I felt that the action towards changing my name is where the pull is. I don't know what that is yet. I'm waiting for it to be revealed to me. And going back to that question, what do we do as humanity? What do we do as individuals in getting our authenticity back and becoming sovereign beings? It's all about, before going forward, before thinking about goals, before thinking about achieving things, we need to think about going back. We need to think about taking the time to go within, to listen to our unconscious mind when it tells us we have these emotions and we have these addictions because we have the emotions, and we want to hide from the emotions. So we do that by,
that's all we do, isn't it, Emma? We're just constantly addicted.
Distractions, by addictions. I mean, you can be addicted to yoga.
That's the fun. You can be addicted to anything, literally.
And that is, yoga's great. I mean, I love yoga.
Obsessively doing it, not so good though. Obsessively
doing it to hide how you really feel, then it is just a band-aid. That is spiritual bypassing at the end of the day. You're still looking for something to cover up what you really think.
Someone said to me once, anything can be heroin. Like, you can make anything heroin, literally. Like, your internet, your phone, your food, your yoga. If you're not doing it, and I completely agree, if you're not doing it from a place that it's adding to your life, and you're trying to, like you say, it's a band-aid.
And that's what people get stuck. That's where people get stuck, especially when people start looking into the spiritual realms. They've recognized that they've got an issue. They've recognized they've got an addiction or a behavior that is not suiting their lives anymore, and they want to make changes. And what they do is they start looking on the internet or reading books about how they can make changes. And a lot of that means that people get stuck and lost in this spiritual bypassing situation. And it's all about, for them, just changing the addiction from something that's unhealthy to healthy.
But it's still an addiction. So the point you're making, you're just swapping.
You're just swapping. I mean, of course, yeah, brilliant. If you stop drinking and you started doing yoga, then that's wonderful. That's great. But eventually you're going to have to realize that nothing is going to change because you've just swapped one addiction for another. And the real work then is about acknowledging why you feel the need to have an addiction. And you know, when you can work within, when you can find the root cause, and when you can heal the root cause a bit, the addictions will just fall away,
because the addictions were caused by that root cause. And that's what I've found.
There's no getting rid of an addiction by going cold turkey, by sobriety, you know, going to AA. I mean,
that's a tool, but it's not. Eventually you need to go back to that root.
You need to go back to that root cause, because that's the only way you free yourself from everything that has happened and been created from that root cause. And so that's the work that I do. The combination of work that I do is that the timeline healing, the hypnotherapy is very much psychological and psychology based. So there's you know, new neural pathways are formed. You bring your awareness to the situation, you bring your awareness to your emotions, how they feel, and it is supported by Reiki. And this is where I co-created this new therapy, because I was getting a lot of people who were traumatized, and you know, one modality was not going to cut it. It needed a combination. So I sat with my light beings for a long time, and we figured out this way of combining the two modalities and bringing about a program that takes people from their trauma right through to their soul purpose, and kind of everything in between. So there is trauma work where we go back, we find the root cause, we heal the trauma, transmute the trauma, and then, you know, when you're free of this trauma, you have the space within to start changing your mindsets over things. Because beforehand, your subconscious mind creates your reality. So if you are coming from a state of anger, fear, judgment, resentment,
so your past story is creating your future story, because you're still in that past.
And you can't move forward and pretend to create brilliant things in your life if truly deep down you're still coming from a subconscious level of lack, of fear, because you can manifest all sorts of things into your life, but if you don't truly in your heart feel good enough to receive it all, it won't happen. That's what clearing trauma is all about. It's all about getting you to your true state of love, blissful being, so that anything else is ease and flow. And so you get to a point where you've cleared a lot of trauma, and now there are layers within layers of trauma.
We talked about this, the onion. We talked about the onion layers.
the onion, or the facets. And every one single issue has a facet to it, and each facet needs looking at and removing. When you get to a point where you've removed everything, you can release that issue. There's going to be other issues in your life that you need to look at, and when you get to keep going back in
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. It's about keep going back in. It's never, I don't ever feel that it's ever over. It's always a work in progress.
You can do the deep work, but it's always a work in progress, because even if we've gone back and done, we're still constantly evolving, we're still constantly moving forward.
And one thing can lead to another. And this is, you know, then not only in this current life, childhood, but also past lives, ancestral, generational. All of those come with trauma, and all of those will add to your low self-worth. So when you've got this low self-worth and there are, you know, many layers surrounding that, you've got to keep peeling all these off until you get to that low self-worth, and then you fill it full of love, you transmute it. So it is like this peeling away of constant, but it gets easier each time.
Yeah, so you start doing the deep work, it's uncomfortable, but each time you go back in.
Each time you go back in, because you're so used to doing it, and because you've done it before and you know you're not going to die, it's easier to go through the process again. It's easier to not resist, and so it's easier to flow, and the easier the flow is, the quicker it goes. And then you get to a point where you're in a position to have space to unlock a facet of your authentic self.
Yes.
That's the key. Yeah, our souls have been here, there and everywhere through millions of years, picking up information, picking up wisdom, picking up healing methods from all over the cosmos, and it is stored in an area of our soul. And when we've created some room, we then get to activate our soul.
So when we've cleared the crap that is kind of like the clouds in front of the beautiful sun that we can't access.
Or you can think of it as a container that is filled full of muck.
Yes.
You know, and the more muck you take out, the more room there is for something else.
Yeah.
And every time you unlock another facet or activate a light code or remember as well, that's another thing, is that it's all in here. It's all within your energy field, it's all within your soul. It's just about remembering it. It's about removing what's stopping you from remembering your true self. And when you start to remember your true self, a facet will appear, and you will you know, some of my clients have removed some of this trauma, and within a few weeks they've developed a psychic ability, for instance, because
it's cleared the way for it.
It's cleared the way for it, and it's been reborn, it's been rebirthed, and then that's something for them to hold as a purpose. You know, why am I clairvoyant all of a sudden? It's probably part of your soul purpose to help people. And not everybody has a soul purpose that involves directly healing someone. You know, your soul purpose is about being truly authentic and being truly being able to receive and give unconditional love. And
sorry, I just wanted to interject there. So what we've got to be understanding and working with ourselves with is, you know, to truly heal, and I'm talking physically, emotionally, mentally, our capacity as being human, we need to really go back and look at everything that's happened, you know, really go back and really feel into that trauma, really look at everything. And also I just want to ask you, the kids, you just made a good point, we all have these abilities, it's just some of us are clearer. So you have been able to access this information and access the field of all there is since you're like absolutely, well, from day dot. And all kids come in like that, don't they? All kids, when we are born, when we incarnate as souls, we all have this ability, and unfortunately it's squished out of us. So it's a case of just getting back to and remembering, and saying that sounds so simple, but essentially when you strip everything away, is getting back to the love that and the light that we actually are, whatever religion or anything. I'm not going to get into the structures of religion because that's a whole nother ball of wax, but just essentially what we are is sacred. We don't have to go anywhere, be anywhere, do anything. We are sacred beings, and we are here just to remember that, aren't we, Emma? And how was it like growing up? Because I'm really concerned right now with everything that's happening, and obviously, you know, for our children right now who have been so, you know, restricted from life and everything that's going on in the name of safety, whatever. That's a whole other subject too. But what can we do to help our children? Because, you know, what can we do to sort of help them remember the sacred, keep them away from like being so absorbed in just AI and just technology, and actually get them to remember that's all great. We can use that as tools. That's brilliant. But what I have an issue with is when we're putting that technology straight in, you know, babies in buggies watching things, you know, like things. How can our children discover who and what they are if they're completely distracted from day dot with all this stuff? How do we support ourselves and our children to kind of just remember the sacred nature of us? Because it's kind of really important right now, because what's happening is not so sacred. It's pretty synthetic.
Absolutely. We are a fraction, a facet, part of the divine source. We contain the divine source within us.
That's what we are. That's what we're made from.
That is what we are. We are a part of the divine source that has been brought down and incarnate into a human vessel to serve a purpose for humanity. And like I said before, that is a soul purpose, and everybody's soul purpose is different. Not everybody's soul purpose is to change directly humanity, but it is everybody's responsibility to heal themselves, raise their vibrations, which then in turn raises the vibrations of humanity. If everyone is coming from a place of love, if everybody has done the work, if nobody is resenting anybody else, if nobody feels guilty about things, if nobody is jealous about everybody else and what they're doing, if you can imagine for a moment that everybody feels so good within themselves that all they want for the people around them, who they know or don't know, is what they have and how they feel. Then can you imagine the world? How would the world be?
Oh, it would change
everybody
in a second. If we all just literally did the work, if we just literally could feel that in ourselves. And that's what's so important, Emma. That's why I wanted to get you on too. Because if we can just realize that, you know, when you said we're not all here to go and heal everyone in humanity, the point is all we need to do is heal ourselves. Because when we do that, we raise our frequency and we affect others. So I've been a wounded healer. I got, you know, I've done my Reiki and everything, and I was nowhere near here. I was really ill and everything. I was like, I'm going to go and heal everyone. Way. I'm so, you know, not from an ego place, but now I realize now it was probably like a spiritual ego. Like I want to, but it was coming from a sweet place. But I hadn't looked at me, you know. I was falling apart, but it was so much easier to go, I want to heal you. But the most important work that we have is just literally to heal ourselves.
And that goes back to what can we do for our children? Because I was asked this question before, and my answer is simply, to help your child, you need to help yourself. Because if you can come from a place of love, compassion and empathy, then your child,
at the moment,
your child will receive what they need as children. If you are taking that responsibility and you are working on your generational trauma, if you are standing there and saying it ends with me, that is how you save your children from the baggage.
By taking the responsibility of what we've been distracted from. That is our responsibility. We always want to make me well, you know, sort my money, sort this. I think ultimately it's just coming back to that ultimate responsibility that it's up to us. There is nothing else.
You know, once that is done within, the ripple effect is massive. just as the
Huge.
ripple effects that we have on people now is huge. You know, you walk outside, you can test it, anybody can test it. Go out with the intention of being happy, go out with the intention of giving love to anybody, go out with the intention of helping someone across the road, and just see how people respond and react to you, just by having that intention, not even actually openly doing anything, just setting
Just
that
holding that, just literally holding that thought and holding that
in your heart.
intention.
Yeah, because you walk out there with pain in your heart, or you know, you go out in a, I mean, I've done it before, and I've gone out in a mood, and I'm not being happy, and I'm like, and then everything during the day then leads to me saying, well, what did I do to deserve that? Why has that happened? Why have I dropped that? Why am I doing this? Why have I just cut my finger? You know, it's all because you're coming from a state of fear and lack and scarcity and not being enough. You know, just coming from a place of not being enough, you're not going to get enough. If you're coming from a place of I don't deserve, then you won't receive.
You won't ever deserve. And because and that's what I've really realized lately, is our ability to receive as humans. So I was really thinking about manifestation, thinking about things, you know, manifesting optimal health, everything.
Yeah.
But you have to be ready to receive. And that's the whole point of, like, if you can want and you can ask, but what if you got everything you want tomorrow? Most people would freak out, like, because we don't think we're worth it. Like, we literally don't think we're worth it. So we can kind of chase this unattainable, like, you know, all these material things that are going to make us feel marvelous, and when we get the house and the car and this. And how many people have you heard of, billionaires, millionaires, who are just super empty? They've got all the stuff that we strive for, they've got it all. What else?
And they're still not happy.
Nothing. Absolutely
and
nothing.
they end up blowing it, don't they? They end up blowing it, you know, gambling it away because they've got a gambling addiction. You know, they're trying to fill, constantly trying to fill a hole with things that are external, when really you're just full of it anyway. It's just about having the awareness to make those changes, and that's where humanity is falling at the moment, is that the awareness just isn't there anymore, and the technology that you mentioned is just dumbing everything down. And even when somebody stops and thinks a little bit, why am I thinking like that? Why am I getting these feelings? Why am I jealous of him or her? Why do I resent them? The minute you have that thought is the minute you need to go within and find those answers and clear that trauma from where that came from. You're resenting them because you don't feel good enough.
And that's what it always comes back to. So we're going around like proliferating all this kind of jealousy and feeling of not enoughness, and we're projecting it out. We project it out. We create illnesses in ourselves from it, because essentially we just are not. I mean, it really is simple when you strip it all back. It really just does come back to knowing who the fuck we are, like, literally. And that's all it is.
It's people wanting to make that change, and people don't want to make that change because the last few generations that we've had has been surrounded with an easy way to hide from themselves. Technology, computer games. You know, it's okay to have a computer game and go play on a game and lose yourself for a minute and allow.
It's just when you lose yourself forever.
It's when you just use it. So that you don't feel yourself.
That's it. And that's the problem.
Painful. It's too painful to be felt. But all you're doing is pushing it down, and you know, it's
just a distraction, isn't it?
Harder, it's getting worse. And then the way that the world is at the moment, the way that the universe is, the way that the energies are, we are being, these energies are calling us to bring up all of this stuff that we have pushed down. And you imagine pushing something down for so many years, that's going to be really ugly when it comes.
Really, really ugly.
Really, really ugly. And you're not going to know where to start.
And that's why people don't. And they're just like, oh, I don't want to see this.
That's it. And then they want to know what to do. But unfortunately, their awareness doesn't go past the TV. Doesn't go past what the government are telling you. Doesn't go past what our parents told us.
We don't trust what we feel because we don't trust that as valid. Basically, everything outside of us is all as it should be. If we're feeling something, there's something wrong with us, not something wrong with that. And that's what we have to start trusting ourselves, trusting that innate feeling in our gut that tells us, hey, it doesn't feel right that my kid's sitting in class that doesn't feel right that my kid's having to wear masks, or that doesn't feel life-giving, that doesn't feel for life, that feels against life. Just all these questions that come up, and what we're being asked to do. For me, it feels like we're squeezing a massive spot at the moment with all the shite from generationally, and it's ugly, it's gross, there's division, there's all that's keeping me sane, and just keep going on my own path and my own journey, and just because I get triggered and I want to go out and rah it up and stuff, and not useful, not helpful. I mean, I do think righteous anger and action is warranted, but we have to be and move cleverly, because energetically that's what we're here to do, isn't it? We're here to raise our vibration. And people say that's woo-woo and stuff. No, this is how it is, people. This is what our power is, and what you do and what you say makes a difference. Every thought we have. So if you think you're powerless, no, you are the most powerful creature on this earth. Because you have choice, we have choice. And that's why what Emma's doing, and what she's bringing with this work just lit me up. And I knew I had to work with her, and I knew, because I just felt her heart and I felt her passion, and she's just so good at what she does, and she does it with such heart, and I would really recommend anyone. I will put all the links in the show notes, because this is going to go up on the podcast and the different mediums. So I'll put all your links, Emma, in the show notes and everything. But I just want to quickly touch on addiction, and then I just get you to wrap up anything you'd like to say. So what we've talked about with addiction, that's my own journey. I started taking all sorts of things when I was younger. I was put on pharmaceuticals. That's the first thing addiction I ever had, was actually pharmaceuticals, and then running away from pain, like we all do from child abuse, layered things upon layer upon layer, brought loads of physical manifestation to myself. And it was only when I had all of those come that I had to face everything, and actually had to face it. But when we think of addictions, it's not just drugs, and it's not just that. As I had to stand back and look at everything, I realized that every single person on this earth was addicted to something, because we were looking constantly outside and away for anything, with anything, just so we didn't have to look at ourselves. And that was with the telly, with the phone, with the internet, with food, with this, everyone. Like you said, yoga, it's so, when we can stand alone in the dark and face ourselves naked with our flaws, that's when we've won. That's the work.
That's the work, absolutely. And you're right, the addiction, wow, so many. I mean, please don't ever take me the wrong way. I think when you're addicted to alcohol, and then you're addicted to drugs, and they're really destroying your life, you can see it. It's right in front of you. There are so many people that are addicted to things that have no clue, because it's not destroying their lives.
And it's not deemed to be kind of damaging, like TV or food, it's not deemed to be.
To think that it is an addiction. And I did some work and some speaking on this some time ago, about how addiction isn't always what it's supposed to be. Addiction doesn't look like what they tell you it looks like, because addiction's not just somebody robbing somebody to get their next fix.
Exactly. It's not like that at all. I mean,
like it can be. It can be, and it is, but it's not just that. Don't count yourself out of being an addictive person, because it isn't actually harmful on the surface for you or your family. When you decide to spend hours upon hours watching TV instead of communicating with your children, that doesn't look like an addiction, but it is harmful to you.
It's a distraction, isn't it? It's a distraction from you.
It's a distraction, but you're addicted to that distraction, and that's what an addiction is. Addiction is being addicted to a distraction, whatever that distraction may be. There are thousands of them. I've had food addiction issues. in the past. I've had alcohol addiction issues, and it all comes down to I just wasn't feeling worthy enough.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
how
I
did
need
that sit? How did
to
that sit with you? Understand, because you know, when you were very young, you were able to communicate and have this information. So did you feel how was it? This is what I'm really interested in. How was it growing up in this society where everyone needs to be the same, think the same? I know you told me you're quite feisty when you're growing up, so that's good. You had that fighting spirit. But how, for people who are like shyer, quieter, you know, their kids are very open and they're kind of worried for people to see that in case they think their kids are crazy and that, because that's really important right now. We've got people coming through. We need to support these new minds. So how did you feel growing up when you had all these different experiences that maybe other people didn't have? Were you quiet? Did you hide?
I felt isolated from human beings. I felt very connected to beings of light. So there was a lot of imaginary play. I wasn't imagining, and I don't think any child has an imaginary friend. I think they are connected to a light being of some sort. I used to communicate with dragons and have connection to beings from different planets, different stars. And as a child, you know, my parents, my mom encouraged the imagination, whatever kids do. So it wasn't until I got a little bit older that it was time to put it on the back burner, where I started to feel that I really was different to everyone. I thought everyone was the same. I thought that everyone
could see what you saw and feel what you felt.
I used to see people, and instead of seeing people, I would see their energy and I'd see their souls. And you know, I could, you know, I used to run off a lot from a lot of people because I saw their intentions.
Oh, really?
You know, things like that. And you know, for one, when I was very young and I was at a concert, and Jimmy Savile was there.
Oh, I'm not. Do you know what?
And I was 8, and I saw him for the evil that he was, and I was like,
do you know what? Just on that note, literally, I never knew before it all came out and stuff. Whenever I saw that man on the telly, he made my skin crawl, and everyone loved him, and I was like, I don't feel right. There's something about him I don't like. And he had this cigar. He was a dark wizard man. Literally, like that horrible cigar. Who's smoking with kids? Fucking massive cigar.
Hello.
Like, even after that one thing. Oh, the man was evil.
And this is what I struggled with was people not seeing what I could see. People trusting people that I thought, you can't trust those. And then it just got really difficult to function as a human being. So I had to leave that side. I had to push it away. I had to push it down. It was always there, but I kind of had to put it on the back burner because I didn't have anybody in my life that was the same. That was connected enough to teach me, or
so you pushed it down. You kind of got rid of it. It was you know, you had to kind of just pretend in a way.
Down because I've got no one there telling me it's okay. It's okay. Actually, it's really good that you feel this way and that you can see this. This is, you know, that there was no possible way of me expanding as a child because I didn't have that network around me that knew any different or knew any better. And that's fine because, you know, we don't always know everything. And my parents were very, it was dysfunctional. I'm not going to go into it too much.
Yeah, that's fine.
But my parents were opposite ends of the scale. My mom was overcompensating for my father's lack and my father's violence and aggression. For, you know, that's where my unworthiness comes from.
Right, so that's where that was born.
In this lifetime, I mean, I've carried stuff from other lifetimes, but this lifetime's issues all started with my relationship with my father, or lack of relationship. And so, you know, being
How do we
aware.
support, sorry darling, like just quickly, how do we support, obviously I know we don't want to go into this, but we talked about our children and stuff, and we just talked about children in general, and what I'm so concerned with is how are we supporting, I know we said, like, you know, we did touch briefly on it, but as parents we really need to be aware now, all the things that are going on in the world are really damaging our children, really damaging, telling them that they need to fear touch, they need to fear love, they need to fear connection, they need to, this is normal, you just see the eyes, complete disconnection from, we need to be putting so much extra love. And the new children that are coming through, like we talked before, we come through, we're open, then we get conditioned. So how are we, how are we dealing with this? How we need a massive shake up, because you know all these beautiful new souls being born, not on my watch, are going to be like, you know, how do we support this? How do we bring awareness to, like, let's not crush these children's spirits, because these are the next generation. These are the people that are going to be building and creating this new system that we want to live in, which benefits all people, not just a very small percent of people. So what do we do, Emma? Like, how can we help our kids? What can we move?
Because we are having a hard time getting people to take responsibility for their own healing and taking responsibility for their own state of being.
Yeah.
It's really hard to then reach the children, because you need to reach the children through the parents. And as I said before, if the parents are doing the work, the child is going to be part of that ripple effect that doesn't get affected negatively, but it's not happening, is it?
No.
And are being negatively affected. Now, there's different children. There are some children that are what I call neurotypical. And
what does that mean? What does that mean?
It's a nicer, fancier word for normal, because obviously using the word normal can trigger people, but so I try not to use it. But the average child who, you know, is happy to do as they're told the majority of the time, go to school and sit and listen to their teachers, you know, you've got all those kind of children, and they, you know, they're coming from parents that are hiding and pushing down. And these are professional people, these are corporate people, these are people that have good jobs, and
people who we're taught to respect, who they are the pinnacle of society. They are,
but deep down they're hiding, and they've got trauma and they're not dealing with it, and that is transmuting into their children's way of being. I see it. My son is in school. I see it. I can see it through the children. I can see their energy anyway, because I can see these things. But you know, you only have to look at the behaviors, you can see it. So these
have you noticed different the energy? Sorry, I just need to ask you this. You see energies. Let me just ask you, what kind of energies have you been seeing around lately? I mean, I bet just quite, I can imagine a lot of fear colors.
Yeah, good. That's a good explanation, actually, fear colors, because I always find it very difficult to explain what it is that I see, because I transition from seeing things to just knowing things.
Right.
So, and that is one thing, as I've ascended on my journey, I've gone from actually seeing people's energy to just knowing what their energy is, what their problem is, and how it needs to be fixed. But it's up to them.
You can't heal them. You can only facilitate.
But I can see it, and I can see what they need to do, and I can see what's happened to them in the past. I can see what they're there, and that's why I'm so empathetic with the human race and with humanity. Because I see that
we've had a bad lot. We've had a bad lot, but you can't feel sorry for yourself forever. We got to fucking wake up now.
Well, this is the truth. Exactly. You can see why people behave the way they behave, because they are not dealing with something that's really deep. So going back to the children, you know, you've then got children who are not neurotypical, and they are put in boxes such as ADHD, autism, and of course there are neurological conditions that can
There
cause
are,
these.
but I do also feel there are neurological conditions, but also anything that's slightly different seems to just have a label slapped on it. This is not the norm. This is
Yeah.
this.
Let's put you in a box, because you know, we don't want to, I mean, at first ADHD didn't exist, and then they had to create it so that they had a box to put all these people in.
Yeah.
And then there are children that are being put into these boxes that actually don't need to go in this box. They need to not go in a box at all.
Yes.
But because school want them in school, because school want them conditioned, they need to go in a box because that makes it easier to condition them.
Yes.
And then you have children that are like my son, for instance, and I know your daughter as well, who have been born ready for this, probably been born a bit early. And
when you say that, do you remember, like, do you mean they kind of the second wave of kids, like they've been born in, like, right into the shit, basically, like?
Yeah.
Really?
And I always think, for, you know, sometimes with my son, I always think, man, you needed to be born a bit later on, when we'd done when all the shit toil had gone, and you can just land straight in and run this show.
Come straight in and get on.
But then the only way we get through the shit is to have people who are born early. And I really strongly feel this, that, you know, whenever you look back in history, whenever there's been you know, any human rights, any women's rights, any you know, ethnic rights, these people who are heading this up always seem to be more advanced than everyone else around them, more in touch than anyone else around them. And it takes us, if you take a look back in history, it takes a special type of person to make these changes on such a massive scale.
Grand scale.
Has a massive input and impact on future generations. And I feel that my son is here for that.
We're planting the seeds, aren't we? It is a massive job, Emma. It's a huge job, but with enough people being born and enough people waking their hearts up, like, it's just a case of, once we make the decision that, hey, actually, no, I don't like these systems, aren't for me, and just kind of just withdraw from it, they just fall in a second.
And that is how my son was born. That is how my son came to this place, this planet. You cannot tell me anything. That is my son's MO. That's
good. Him. We need more people like that.
He won't be conditioned. He won't be forced into something he doesn't want to do. In fact, if you tell him to do, if you encourage him to do something that he really wants to do, he won't do it because you've involved yourself.
That's interesting. So he wanted to do something, and then as soon as you want that, you're like, nah, actually.
No, because
I'm not being told.
Because you, in somewhere along the lines, you're telling me what to do.
Well, you know what, we need your son to come and tell some of the adults to stop doing what they're told, because
he's trying. And this is why I'm having this issue at school with him. This is the fight that I'm having on a daily basis at school. He won't sit and listen, no, because he doesn't want to, and he won't. And I'm having to, me and him are almost going into the school system and trying to change the mindsets of the adults that are around him. And if I can change that mindset, then that mindset will be changed forever. And the children coming up, you know, so this is how we do it. You know, if you can take your child out of school, then fine. But at the same time, we need to, like always, we need to get into the system.
Yeah. We need to get into the crap to kind of shake it up from within. But you need to have cleared yourself enough and have no fear and no anger and no, because I've noticed that when I've gone into things and I've tried to, I'm not ready and I haven't cleared enough in myself. So I've gone in and I've gone in with anger and I've been triggered, and that's just not going to help. Like when I go and see the doctors, which I don't anymore, but I just go in because of just how utterly inept the entire system is. And I don't care. You can be a nice doctor, you can be a nice nurse. I'm not bashing you. I'm bashing the system because it is shite. So you can come at me with anything about that. That's fine. But when I've gone in and I go in and I get triggered, I get angry, that doesn't do anything. You have to stand in your purpose and be showing, like, this is what's working, this is what's right, this is what's working for me. Oh, look, don't I look happy? Doesn't this system look like it's changed better? That's how we do it, isn't it? And we have to get rid of all our shit and all our humanness, because there is a lot of things out there that are triggering us, and there is a lot of things that are flipping wrong, just outright wrong. But we're not here to judge that. We're here to change it. So,
and that's hard to do.
Yeah.
Because people love to judge.
We're just born to do it, because we're just, you know, I've got to tell you one story, Emma. You tell me what you think about this. It's such a beautiful story. There was this group of African kids, an anthropologist put some sweet fruit by a tree. Okay. He said to these kids, right, you run, and whoever gets there first wins the fruit. They all held hands. They were about, I don't know, up to like 4 to 8 or something. They all held hands and they ran together, got the fruit and sat. And he said, well, why did you do that? Because, you know, one of you could have won all of it. And they said, Ubuntu. Why should I be happy when my brothers and sisters aren't? And I thought that's so interesting, because that's how we are innately. We've been taught to be separate. We've been taught to compete, to survive. That's not who we are. That's not how it's supposed to be. And we think, oh, it's just the way it is. It's not just the way it is. It's how we've been taught to be. Because if you have kids, and they have nothing, these kids in Africa, and they run and they all celebrate and eat together. So where did that come from? You know, where did that ethos come from? It's in them and it's in us.
I've heard that story before, and it's always made me think that is how you are meant to be.
Yeah.
Because they haven't had the same conditioning that our children have had.
Yeah.
Sports day, that's conditioning.
Everything. Everything.
Competitiveness and a want to win, to put value, the value of your life is whether you come first.
Yeah, exactly. That's just teaching that totally anti-people, really, because if I'm just growing and I'm the best, you have to be under me for me to be that best, and we're all doing that. How are we creating any kind of coherent kind of community if we're always striving to compete? So that at the very basic level of what you're doing, your work, you're doing this really deep work with people. It's so important. I really do encourage people to work with Emma, because if you don't think you're traumatized, you don't think you've got anything in your past, I'm telling you, you bloody well do. All right. You do.
I will find it.
Yeah, she'll find it. She had me in a right state. I tell you, no, we did some deep work. She dug in there. No, we did some deep work, and I felt
basically, didn't I, for you to dig around in your subconscious and find what you needed to see, and find what you needed to heal. Exactly. And you know, that for me there needs a combination of it. You know, I always go in with things with like a 4-pronged approach, you know. Yes. There's no point in going, because this is where, you know, you go see your psychologists, and you've said before, you go and see a psychologist and they bring all this shit up, and then they
don't do anything with it, just stink it up.
Yeah, you've had your hour, goodbye. You know, not all of them, but you know, that's how they've been trained, that's how they've been taught,
and that's the system, and it's shite, and it doesn't work. It really doesn't,
and it needs to crumble. And you know, my system is to have that 4-pronged approach. You know, your holistic approach, your mind, body, emotion, spirit, soul. Everything has to come together and gel and be whole. And the healing the mind is one thing, healing quantumly is another. And if you put those together, you know, it's like magic.
It's really funny. Like, it's been, for me, I've been like an experiment, and I've never had such a good time since I got so ill. I was having fits, I was having this, I was like, literally, I used to lay on the sofa and scratch so someone could hear me, you know, like I was pretty bad for quite a while. But you know what, but Emma, it's the best thing that happened to me, because I had to be broken so I could actually stand back and see the shattered pieces of myself were not myself, and the real stuff that I needed to focus on was like here. And the work that we did the other day, I'll just tell you quickly, I felt very crap for about a day and a half, because stuff was coming out, because a lot of my physical manifestations are from this point of trauma. So we did some really deep work, and I said to Emma, I felt awful. I was moaning, I was like, you know, like, but when this stuff is coming out, it's so deeply ingrained. When this stuff's coming out, you know, it's not pleasant. It's not always like that for everyone, but that's how I experience it. But since then, a couple of days afterwards, so clear, so light. I've got more work to do, me and Emma have discussed, but I just highly recommend, if you're suffering with any physical manifestations, or you're just feeling lost in the world, connect with Emma, because people that do this kind of work, because it's really important. It is so important right now. And can you, just before we wrap up, Emma, can you tell people how they can contact you? And I know you have a group, and you know you're doing lots of different things.
I do. I have Facebook, as we all do.
For now.
You know, and that's another thing. Gosh, my business started in person with handing out you know, flyers and business cards. That's how I started 10 years ago with my
when you can actually speak to people? When you're actually allowed to be around humans?
When I could touch them, when I could touch you.
Oh, no.
I mean, I must admit, COVID, I mean, I'm going to put it out there, COVID has given me so many opportunities to do the work that I needed to do, so that I can be where I am now, fulfilling my sole purpose.
Yeah. And that's how we got to look at it, isn't it? I mean, so many people have gone in. So it's happened. Some people have gone in and just ramped up the fear, and some people have really gone in and really evaluated what they want in their lives, and they've left jobs and taken kids out of school. Interestingly enough, I was on a homeschool. I know I've got off the subject a bit, but I was on a homeschool website, and do you know how many people have taken their kids out of school in the last 3 weeks? Honestly, I counted about at least 100 just in the kind of like localish area.
I mean, that's on the cards. That's, I mean, my son hasn't gone back to school yet. That's
going to go.
Me. He's got a phased return that we're looking at. He will go back if they are going to treat him properly. You know, I've told them what I expect. I've told them that I expect his mental health to be a priority. I have told them that their mindset needs to change to look at things from his perspective. And you know, do
you tell them that he's open? Do they know what you do? Do they know? Or do you keep that quiet?
They're a bit of a strict Christian school, so they tend to overlook what I do, really, in a way.
They might think it's a work of the devil or something.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I don't think it's quite that bad, but it's certainly, you know.
Do you ever worry, Emma? Yeah, it's getting up there. Do you ever worry, like, you know, we're talking about stepping into our truth and stuff, but there is still some fear attached to me, because I've just taken my daughter out of school, and you're talking about the phased return of your son. I'm a single parent, and I, you know, do have a fear around, you know, speaking to certain things to certain people, because of how conditioned we are, and what are you allowed to be? Are you allowed to be different? Are you allowed to kind of believe, you know, interdimensional beings? Are you crazy when you say that? That's the kind of concern I have, because I've had issues with these systems before, and it's like, how, you know, we can step in and be ourselves, but how wary, and how, you know, how much, I don't want to say do we have to censor ourselves, but be sensible in this current climate. So can you speak to that?
Yeah.
They don't burn witches, but they might start.
I've been a witch in so many past lives.
Yeah.
I've been persecuted. I've been hunted. I've had the past life regressions to feel into that.
Yeah.
And I feel that way now. For the last 10 years doing this work, I have felt persecuted, not hunted as such, but definitely looked at, you know, as in.
Yeah. You're kind of nefarious. Yeah.
And that's been one of my fears, because in a past life also, I was a woman that was banged up in a mental facility and treated like absolute crap, because I was different.
Exactly. And we're kind of getting to that point now, aren't we? Really,
it's scary times. And I've gone through a process of really separating myself, so that online, in my healing business, in person, I am as spiritual as they come. I talk to you about how I connect to aliens, and how I have had communication with aliens. And you know, even in the spiritual community these days, that's quite like what?
Yeah.
And and I have then gone I've had a separation to my other life where I deal with different other people, and where I deal with my child's, the adults in my child's life,
Yeah.
doctors. I mean, I'd love, I've had lots of experiences and talks to doctors, and when my son was ill, when he was born and he was little, and I told the doctors what was wrong with him, they thought I was mad. Until I showed
white
them,
coat on.
yeah, exactly. Until I showed them what Mad Emma really was, and pushed them into looking into it further. I was spot on. I was right. I called it because I just knew. But they tried to put me on antidepressants and all that.
This is what I'm saying, and it's like anyone who can understand or come from a different place, you just have to be really mindful right now, guys, because we're being kind of just herded into this, everyone's conforming.
I've had, and I spoke to a friend of mine the other day, I have had the visuals of, and I don't want to scare anybody, but I've had the visualizations of concentration camps. Folk who are awoken are, and I am pretty sure it's metaphorical. I can't see us all ending up in concentration camps, touch wood, but it's a metaphorical.
It's like a wake up, because this is kind of,
we need to put all these awoke people in a cage.
Yeah.
So
because it's gonna be problematic for other people, and that's why we're being kept separate.
Absolutely. So for me now, as I step into more of my authenticity, I am who I am wherever I walk.
Good.
I will tell his teachers what I think.
Good.
I've got a psychological, I've got a hypnotherapist. I've done a lot of work with psychology and how the brain works. I throw that at them all the time.
So basically, have your terminology, have the things that they respect to talk to. Okay, so you can't come in and like, yay, love and light, blah blah blah. Don't come in like, no, I'm an actualized person. I know what I'm talking about. I know my law. I know everything. You do have to do that, because if you just come in and you're just like, yeah, I'm grounded, and just come, don't, you have to make sure that people respect you.
Of self. Those are aspects of self. And I've had to struggle with this. I've got facets of me. I can be who, I think we spoke on it, I can be who you need me to be in that moment for you to receive your message. Yeah. So if I need to be really woo-woo and spiritual and mystic, I can do. If you need me to be a bit more straight down the line, a bit more logical, I can do that.
So you're basically picking up on how you need to be in that situation. And that's what we all need to be like. We need to stand in our own, you can speak to this, but be yourself at all costs. Really, really be yourself. And this is all my life. I haven't been myself. And now I'm truly, truly stepping into it. And I'm not fully there yet, but I'm getting there. But to stand in your truth and speak your truth, but with love, compassion, but also know when you need to come with the logic, know when you need to come with knowing your laws and stuff, because this is the thing, when we're fully actualized and we're standing there and we can play that game, we can play that, we know all those things, but you're coming from the perspective of, being a unique expression of source.
Exactly. I mean,
what can happen to us, really, Emma? Like, when you think about it in this way, isn't it crazy that we've let ourselves kind of be run into, the ego is the servant, and the servant's been running it all. And we've allowed it all to happen. So who are we, knowing that what we actually are? This is kind of crazy that we've allowed this, but we have allowed it, and here we are, and now we can rectify it, and we can step into our health. This is a channel about a journey to wellness, but this is all relevant because there is no separation. And once we know who we are, we can heal ourselves very easily once we get to the source of things. And that is how it works. And I don't care what you say to me, because I've been very ill, and I interview people who are healing from cancer, from this, from that, naturally. So I know what I'm talking about. And this is what we need to do. So any inspirational words for the
inspirational words?
Roll me off a quote.
I think when you find your authentic self, when you're comfortable with that authentic self, you will just be that way, and you won't think too much into it. It's all about allowing yourself to find the freedom, first of all, and what flows from that will be perfect and divine for that moment. And yeah, we need to, once you've found your voice and once you have a topic, and you know, you get it out there, speak into these things on different platforms, you know, speak into it with your friends and your family. You'll find naturally people will start distancing from you, but those that leave you are meant to leave you so they can make room for new people to come into your life. Find yourself a tribe. That's important, of like-minded people, and just have that faith that when you set that intention from the heart, it's going to be okay. And I know people can go, well, that's a bit woo-woo, but I've proved it to myself. I set that intention, positive heart, love. There's a ripple effect, and all I get coming back to me is exactly what I want.
That's the thing, Emma, and it's so true, and that was really beautiful what you just said. But we can have, like, just taking from the example of illness, you can have something happen to you. You've got two choices. You either choose to be a victim of it, or you choose to go, hey, this challenge has come, how do I get around it? So people can talk about hopium and stuff like that, but what else is there? You want to actively choose to be destroyed and be just in fear and just subscribe, this is a great life, I'm going to just subscribe to be in fear constantly, and there's no growth, just only contraction. Or you can choose to actually see the growth in any situation, see the growth in any challenges. What do you want to choose? I think I'll choose that. You can call me a hopium, or you can call me this, that, and the other, but whatever intention we have, we move towards. And because we are so powerful, if we all hold in that intention, hey man, it's going to get done a lot quicker.
Yes. And you know when you're on the right path, because it's scary.
Yeah, exactly, because you're going against everything you learn.
That's when you know you're making a shift and making a change, just because it's scary. How are people going to receive me? How are people going to look at me? I've had to do the deep work to get there. That didn't happen overnight.
How many years have you been what would you say, just all your life?
10 years, really. I've been doing this work, but only the last 2 years have I really taken it to the core, to the deep levels, and to the deep awareness and the deep understanding. But there's wonderful people out there that think, okay, I'm going to clear this stuff, but then what? Then what do I do? Then you get connected. Then you get connected to self. You get connected to source. You get connected to your angels, your guides.
And you're not alone. And this is what people need to understand. When you do this, you're not alone. You realize you're held all the time.
Yeah. And then you are connected to those who are on the same path as you. Your tribe, you're connected. So you've got a physical tribe, you've got a multidimensional tribe. And I tell you what, when I had that rebirth of the dragon soul queen that I had, and I brought with me 2 dragons that I work with, I mean, walk into the room thinking you've got 2 dragons behind you.
Yeah, you're kind of invincible, aren't you? Like,
bring it on. And people see that. People will see that within you, and they will question whether they are going to challenge you or not.
Yeah.
You know, absolutely. So if you walk in there thinking, oh, you know, people are going to challenge you.
If you walk in there just as you, without your team and your backup, and you understanding that you are held and surrounded by the love of the universe and beings, and like, whether you can see them or not, I don't see, but I feel, and I know I do not walk alone. I
mean, I know I'm keep getting the chills, so I know I'm speaking in, and that's another thing. You start speaking into something and you get the chills. Know that you're being supported, know that you're doing the right thing, know that you're speaking into the right thing, because it's coming from the heart, it's authentic. Now, there's people out there that are going to disagree with you. There are people that in the same community, spiritual community, that are going to disagree with me. They're going to have their own opinions, and that's okay.
We're humans.
That's fine. That's absolutely fine, because what we're doing is taking the quantum realm, which is endless, possibilities, magic, you know, everything that you can possibly imagine, and you're trying to bring that into the 3D, and you're trying to explain what that is in 3D.
It's kind of impossible, isn't it?
It is, and that's why everyone has a different version of it, because everybody's version of it is unique to them.
Yes,
That is why you'll notice, and all the beautiful people listening now, go with the person you resonate with, go with the person that is speaking to your heart, not the someone who has read 1,000 books and is spewing what they have read. Listen to the person that's coming from experience. Listen to the person that's been there, done it, and is trying to speak into it the way that they interpret.
Yeah.
And, you know, what I say to my clients is, you know, you're going to interpret this completely different. And, you know, what comes for you is what is true for you.
Yeah. And like what you always say, what resonates, take. What doesn't is not for you.
So that's another bit of wisdom, actually, is go with what you resonate with. If you resonate with it, you will know, because you will feel chills. You will feel something in your heart. You will feel, oh, this person.
Yeah. Oh. You feel like, how I describe it, like lately, well, since everything started happening for me, since I woke up, I don't like saying woken up, but you know, I feel pulled, I feel open, expanded, I feel pulled towards something, or something that's not, you feel it very strongly in your gut. And that's why people say trust your gut, because that's what our internal system is, that's linked to the divine Wi-Fi and our feelings about, you know, that's what we just really have to get back to, trusting ourselves and not the person that's got the white coat or that. Just trust yourself, your own judgment, your own feelings.
And you know, the people with all the written knowledge, you know,
that's not knowing, is it? You can have, you know, that's what you really find out. You can go and learn, and you can read 1 million books, and that's great, that's knowledge, but that's not knowing. It's not knowing. You can know all the things in the world.
You're kind of you're looking for wisdom, really. You're looking for somebody that's going to say to you, because what I say to my clients quite openly is that I'm not here to fix you. I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. I'm here to show you the way in, and I'm here to support you whilst you do the work. You know, I'm here to guide you. You're
the shepherd. You're shepherding people and helping them, but they must do the work themselves.
I'm here to open the door and kick you in.
Yeah. Very gently and lovely. Very gently and lovely.
Yeah. Then I'm going to lock it behind you until you're crying, and then when you cry, I'll let you out.
Now you put people off, man. No, but she's lovely, really. She's not that harsh, honestly. So when you're screaming, I'll let you out. Anyway, am I going to wrap it up now, because we've been talking? Sorry, babe. Sorry.
So you know from experience.
I'm not exactly. She tortured me awfully. No, it was a beautiful experience. Well, we've been going on for over an hour now, so I think we're gonna wrap it up. It's been amazing talking to you. So Emma has a group called Cosmic Heart Unity.
Yes.
Yeah, on Facebook. Is there any other plugs you would like to say?
There's my Facebook, Emma Davies.
Okay.
That might have
Davies.
That's correct. Yes. Okay. And that's about it for social. I mean, I've only just sort of stepped into the online situation.
Yeah.
So I am working on websites and, you know, that sort of thing. But
if you want a session with Emma, like, she's under construction with her websites and stuff, but beside the point, you can contact her on Facebook. You can work with her. Her method is called Trauma to Soul Purpose Therapy. I highly recommend it if you're having any sort of just anything, you know, if you've got any physical manifestations, you got any conditions, or you're just feeling lost in the world. This is really, really essential work. So thank you so much, Emma, for coming on. It's been such a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Oh, sorry, and like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget. And listen to my podcast. Like, comment, ding, 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 whatever. That's the one. Thank you.